So I was just saying that there's an ayah in Surah Baqarah, ayah 164. And every time I reach that ayah in Surah Baqarah, it reminds me of one thing, which is how beautifully and how perfectly everything is laid out exactly where it's meant to be, in exactly the right place, in exactly the right way, with exactly the perfect purpose assigned to it. And there are beautiful three pieces of wisdom here. One is, I'll start from the last one. One is how each thing, and I'll read that ayah in its translation in just a while, how each thing has a purpose. The smallest thing and the biggest, the one that we can, the one that we bring into our awareness every day, and the one that we don't even think about, has its purpose. There is nothing without a purpose in this whole entire universe. And just because with our human eyes and our human senses, we can't see the completeness of that design because we are living in a 3D experience. Therefore, we can't see the 5D fullness of that design. We don't feel as if every small thing matters and every small thing has a purpose, because हमें आदत है टुकड़ों में देखने की चीज़ों को. फिर ये हुआ, अच्छा वो एक दरख्त है, फिर ये हुआ, अच्छा मैं यहाँ रह रही हूँ, अब मेरी जिंदगी में ये हो रहा है. They were like, we divide our vision and our experiences and put them into boxes. And that's the 3D way of living. But when you look at it, if we were to be, for example, an eagle with a human and a soul view, and we look at it from an eagle perspective, these 5 random or different things which seemingly don't have a connection with each other are beautifully connected in one beautiful, perfect system. And it's not just beautiful because it looks pretty, in a perfect system. That's the beauty of it. So the third thing, which is each thing, no matter how minuscule, has its purpose. In the way the wind blows at a certain time in the day is not random, has its purpose. Similarly, in the way that a person comes into our life that we meet for 5 minutes, that we keep thinking of them and we'll never meet them again, that 5-minute meeting is not random, has its purpose. So the fact that this entire beautiful universe is designed and each thing, the smallest and the most minuscule, has its purpose, is the third part of the design. The second part, because we're now reversed, the second part is that each thing is perfectly placed in its place. It was not meant to be an inch here, not meant to be an inch there. Somebody had taken a scale, measured the micro inches, quantum inches into like whatever quantum measurements, and said, this is where it's meant to be placed. And in it being placed in exactly that moment, with the purpose that it has, is the second part of divine design. It belongs there. It is not displaced. It's not an invader. It is not interrupting the flow. It is meant to be there. It is designed to be there. And exactly there. Not kal ya parson. Not ye parson ho jata to behtar hota. Not any other point, but exactly there. And the first one is that, so each thing has its purpose, the third one. The second one, it is exactly where it's meant to be. The first one is why it's there, the why of it, to begin with. By why it's there, I mean, why am I experiencing it? Is a part of the perfect divine design. That's the first part. But it's difficult to start from the first part. And that's why we kind of reverse engineered to the first one. Because if we just immediately launch into, say, a circumstance or an event or a relationship which is extremely disliked by us, for valid reasons. Because it triggers us, because it brings us pain, because it brings us dis-ease, it brings us heartache. Valid reasons. Why am I going through it? Valid reason. But if we start from the why, it's a very difficult journey. If we start with, oh, it's just meant to be here. It's why it's here, because I'm meant to learn something from it. But if we start there, it becomes very difficult. So why don't we start from the last part? First, again, to revise, the last part is each thing in the universe has its purpose. So if it's here, then it's here for a purpose. It's not nonsensical. It's not nonsensical. Second, it was meant to be here and only here, and no other where. Only here. So when you understand that it has a purpose, it was meant to be here, then the why is the answer that you receive. Then we don't have to start with, why is it happening to me? Because if we start from there, then we caught in the loop of a war, of resistance, of banging our head against it. Because wo to hai yahan pe. Can't deny its existence. It's already here. Why is it here? Bang head, bang head, bang head, bang head. But we stop, we pause. Okay, I understand each thing has its purpose. It's perfectly designed to be here. Oh, that's why it's here. So that's why it's here then becomes an answer and not the big conundrum that we find ourselves experiencing in our daily lives. That's how we receive the benefit of it. And all of this activated by one ayah of Quran. And just want to again take a second to understand what ayah's root word is, because it just is blowing my mind over and over. Okay. And we believe, we have been taught, we don't believe, we've been taught that ayah's root word, okay, Amna is back. Amna's actually at the airport. So we've been taught that ayah's root word is an ayat in Quran. A written verse, a written something is ayah. So the written sentences in Quran are called ayahs, correct? Not true. The root word for ayah is a sign. A sign. S-I-G-N. The root word for ayah is it's a sign. Okay? Get this. Root word for ayah is a sign. The same ayah makes the word alim, alameen. When Allah Ta'ala says Rabbul Alameen, it's a universe of signs, not a finite, dense, physical object, not a globular, density-oriented object, but a universe of signs. Subhanallah. And so an ayah is any place that you find Allah. The song of a bird, when you tune into it and you feel that it is doing the hamd of Allah, or it's bringing such beauty to it, there's such perfection in the song of a bird, is an ayah. When you see the perfection of how delicately a flower is positioned on a delicate stem and it's blooming away, opening up and closing at night, is an ayah. So Rabbul Alameen is the Rabb of all signs across all universes. Thank you for the validation, universe. Yes, the universe is saying it's the ones. It's the validation. So Rabbul Alameen is the Rabb of all ayah, all signs of the whole entire universe. And when you look at ayah as signs of Allah, then your concept of what the universe is changes. Doesn't it feel like this constant stream of just this constant movement? Picture, video. It's like किसी ने montage बनाया हुआ है of piece, Bites Beats one, bite meals का montage किसी ने बना, bite pieces, whatever they're called. उसका एक पूरा एक montage बनाया हुआ है. And each section of that montage, each minuscule part of the montage is a reflection of Allah, reminds you of Allah. So when we begin to understand that that ayah, the ayah that I started off with, which ayah kind of brought this, activated this awareness of the perfection of divine design, is because Allah Ta'ala, and I'll read this ayah now, has said in ayah 164 of Surah Baqarah, that, and I'll read the translation, indeed, in the creation of the heavens and the earth, the alternation of the day and the night, the ships that sail the sea for the benefit of humanity, the rain sent down by Allah from the skies, reviving the earth after its death, the scattering of all kinds of different creatures throughout, the shifting of the winds, and the clouds drifting between the heavens and the earth. In all of this are surely signs for people of understanding. And I'll just read the last ayah in Arabic, which is As-samau wal arzi la ayatin li qawmin yaqilun. Li ayatin, ayat, signs, li qawmin yaqilun, people of understanding. And the reason why this particular ayah blows my mind is because there is an entire, for every example that he is given, and I'd love for you guys to share, because my experience of what I understand from each example would be limited to my experience, right? But I want us to break down for each example that he's given, what is the wisdom that he's asking us to bring to our awareness, if we were people of, which we are, alhamdulillah, if we are people of akal. Okay, so the first one he said is, Inna fi khalqi samawati wal arzi. Indeed, in the creation of the heavens and the earth. That's it. In the creation of the heavens and the earth. And remember, in the story of creation that we've been told, which I don't know enough or much about at all, but one word that that resonates for me and still does is Fatirus samawati wal arz. Fatir. Ya fadur. Now, Fatir, ka root word, is the one who tore apart. Because heavens and the earth was one firmament. They were one. So you know how you play that instrument? What is that musical instrument? वो जो होता है harmonica? वो ऐसे करके खुलता है. Harmonium. Harmonium, yeah, right? जो ऐसे करके खुलता है. So imagine this was like this. One actually wasn't, there was no khalal उसके बीच में भी. It was one smooth, but he खोला उन्होंने ऐसे, like a harmonium. Fatir, right, of the heavens and the earth. And the wisdom that only from this, what we receive is, Fatir is not a gentle word. Tore apart, the root word is tore apart. And in the moments when our hearts are, and tore apart to do what? To create the heavens and the earth. And so when things are torn apart in our lives, when we are torn apart from the relationships that we have loved and invested so much in, when our hearts feel torn, when we feel torn and we feel like this is the end, but no, a firmament was torn apart to create heavens and the earth. And so if we were just to look at the wisdom, and remember what we said, the purpose, the tearing apart is never without a purpose, never without a purpose. When we lose things, people and relationships, our health, our children, our wealth, whatever, our peace of mind, when we lose things, it is never without a purpose. Fatir. And it is exactly that tearing apart needs to have happened, must have happened, because what's the second principle if you're doing the reverse engineering? One is it has a purpose. The second one is it is exactly where it's meant to. It's exactly meant to happen in exactly the way it's happening. It's in perfect place. It's in perfect place. For what? The why? To create a life that is aligned for you. And yes, that life may not feel like you even deserve it. I didn't ask for well-being. I wanted this relationship. I didn't want well-being. Why can't I have this relationship and forget well-being? But there is a divine system that's designed to give you or take you to your highest timeline. It's designed for it. So I was having this very, it's not a conversation that I can in any way say I can relate to, or I can even bring any sense of connectedness with, because I haven't been through it. But there's a friend of mine, a very dear friend of mine, who recently, about 4 years ago, lost her father, lost her husband, her children's father. She has 3 children, mashallah. And after 3 years, and they were very close. After 3 years, we were just sitting down. She was having a conversation with me, and she's saying, you know what, Madiha, I don't know how I'm even saying this, but my kids would not have been who they are right now had their father been alive. And this is a family which was extremely close-knit. Extremely close-knit. So the why of it, once you have gone through the what and the perfection of this thing have happened right now, and you don't begin off with why it's happened to me, but you realign your you realign your belief system. It has a purpose, it's perfectly in place. Then you receive the answer to the why it's happening to you. Always, always. So just in this Fatir Samawati wal Ard, so he's torn apart in the creation, the first part of this ayah, it's one ayah, 164, Surah Baqarah is one ayah. In the creation of the heaven and the earth. Believe in nothing else, he's saying. Look for Allah in not the whole of surahs of Quran. Do not look for Allah in hadith. Do not look for Allah in any recitation. Do not look for Allah in any masjid. Do not look for Allah in anybody. Just look for him in the creation of the heaven and the earth. Just that's it. And that in itself tells you of the purpose of Fatir, of the tearing apart, because the purpose is creation and how it had to be torn apart for these two entities, for the heaven and earth to be created. Guys, if at any point, if you receive any wisdom from any of these examples, please share, because again, it's such a beautiful, vast subject. You can write a book on it, but I can only bring my experience to what I received from the creation of the heaven and the earth. I believe Amina has written something which is of the metamorphosis, absolutely. Even the baby bird breaking out of the egg, absolutely. And every time, because as humans, we bring our own tragic experiences to observing the caterpillar in the cocoon, right? And you'd like to break open the cocoon and help it come out, but it can't fly. If you break open the cocoon and take out the caterpillar, you've taken away its ability to be a butterfly. It is perfectly designed. That pain that we are bringing, we feel that that's going through, is perfectly designed for it. For it. But if we feel, and this is the observer's effect also, when the observer is in pain, it sees the caterpillar as something being in pain. And it wants to help it because we want to help ourselves. But when we surrender to the perfection of this design, where everything has its purpose and everything has been created in perfection, then you know the beauty, you know what the caterpillar is striving for. Then, so when that observer looks at a caterpillar, there's a sense of awe and wonder in the strength of the caterpillar and its persistence. And that's why the universe kind of morphs and becomes into who we are. We create our own universe. It's the observer that observes the universe and creates their own universe. And there's no one definition of how the universe is. There is no one definition. 8 billion souls will give you 8 billion definitions and their versions of what the universe looks like. So what is this one combined universe that we want to believe in? It's nothing. But then inversely, in this one combined universe, when one person begins to change their frequency of being an observer and look at the perfection of the universe as opposed to the injustice of the universe, then how, in shifting that frequency, the entire universe shifts with it. Inevitably, that's the power. So the first part of the ayah was in the creation of the heavens and the earth, in the alternation of the day and the night. Without one, the other cannot exist. And, again, I keep going back to this. The word jadala in Surah Kahf is so, I smile every time. Because Allah says this is it. But insan jo hai, wo aksarul jadala, argumentative. What is argumentative? Jadala means we'd like to just fight. We just like to do wars, start wars. मुझे तो देनी चाहिए, हर वक्त देनी चाहिए, हर वक्त देनी चाहिए. And when you have a sun that doesn't go down, in which region of the world is it? Yeah. So in which region of the world is it where the sun doesn't go down? In the South Pole, right? Or wherever it is, right? When the sun doesn't go down for months.
I think in the northern hemisphere, Scandinavian.
Yes, absolutely. How does it affect the human? It's very, very hard to live there. It's very, very hard to live there. It's very hard to regulate your nervous system when it's constantly been bombarded with light. We all want light. But imagine in prison cells, light doesn't go off. So when there is no balance between the light and the darkness, when there is no balance, we cannot be at rest. We cannot be at peace. Excess of one, even when it is light, is too much. And so Allah says, give in. But hum log kya karte hain? Hame, because, and light for us is many things, right? Light is knowing. Light is understanding where we are and where we are headed. Light is all the plans that we have. Light is all the actions that we want to take. Light is all the things we want to create. ये दिन की रोशनी में हम लोग सब कुछ कर रहे होते हैं. Light is all the inspired things that we want to do. Light is all the people that we want to be. Doing. And night is rest. Night is not doing. Night is wanting to go nowhere, but just being completely here right now. So interestingly, night is the feminine energy and day is the masculine energy. Because the feminine energy asks you to rest and dream and create in your dream state, visualize and sleep and rest in cocooned ways and soft ways, in gentle ways, in no hurry, in absolute slowness, all nighttime, all in silence, all feminine energy. And when the sun comes up, activate into inspired action. Now create, now do, and then go back to rest. See how it's perfectly designed. But we are not synced in. Our systems are not synced in to the system of the universe, to the divine clock of the night and day. 1 second, please. So our bodies are not synced in to the divine system. And in the ayah saying the alternation of the night and day, there is a time for rest and there is a time for doing. And the biggest dis-eases, physical dis-eases originate when we're going against the system of the universe, when we're trying to stay awake during the night and we're trying to sleep during the day. And by the time that we wake up, half the day is already gone. Then our internal clocks, because we are not separate from the universe, our internal clocks, the universe has been designed by keeping our design in perspective. It is for our benefit it's been designed. So first, our internal clock was synced to resting without light and rising with light. And the universe was then, Allah Ta'ala gave the commands to all the elements in the universe to now do this to serve this human, to serve my Khalifa. But so it's not like we have to be in sync with the design of the universe. We have to be in sync with our own design. The universe is just reflecting our design. It is not, we don't have to be in sync. And the same applies in the alternation of the night and day, how in winters, the nights become longer. You're supposed to rest more in winters. So it's not just the day and night clock, it's the season clock. Look at how the universe behaves during the season is what we've been asked to do as human beings to behave. Just in the alternation of night and day is your entire energetic calendar of when you have to visualize for conscious manifestation, when you have to visualize, time for visualizing, time for resting, and let them come to you. So winter, when the nights are longer, when we feel like we want to sit down more, we want to rest more, because the seeds are sleeping right now and are being prepared, it's not the time for starting things. It's not in sync because the spring is coming. No? So winter is for sowing the seeds so that they may sprout in spring. You will get the opportunities in spring. In summer, you're asked to take inspired action. The days are longer. You're asked to take inspired action. Now start bringing them into fruition. Start cultivating, start harvesting. Start doing things. And then the autumn again, it starts slowing down again, you guys. And start gathering the fruits of your labor and start preparing for winter. So just in the second part of the ayah, in the alternation of the night and the day, you receive an entire wisdom to live our life. Just in the second part of the ayah. And the third part is, oh my God, this kept me awake at night for some reason. The ships that sail the sea for the benefit of humanity. But probably because water has not been my friend for a long time. I don't know how to swim. But the fact that there's an entire... So, I was watching this film and somebody asked this from a sailor. What do you feel about the sea? And it's a sailor, a person who has never done anything else in their life, ever, a sailor. And they said it's death. Because every time that I step onto my ship, I don't know whether I'm going to come back or not. And so when Allah Ta'ala says, the ships that sail the seas, bearing things of goodness for humanity, for people who trade, yes, that's the physical definition, and ships which sail out for trades in different ports. That's one definition. But look how there is a vehicle made of wood, a vehicle made of bone and flesh that steps into the ocean with nothing but the sun and the moon and the navigational charts, and have no idea whether this is the first time or the last time. What kind of wind, what kind of storm, whether this delicate vehicle against the sea is going to make it. And yet, you put the ship in the sea anyway. Yet you sail anyway. And when a sailor puts that ship into the sea, what is that sailor relying on? The fact that he was made to do it. He can't think of any other life but being in the sea. And you know that, and this is especially true for sailors. It is not true for any other skill, actually, or for any other profession. And you'd see that in cartoons, in movies also. When a sailor leaves the ship and retires, he keeps dreaming of the sea. It's not true for any other. A surgeon doesn't keep dreaming of doing operations, and there's no other profession where the sailor cannot get over it because it's born to do it. And yet when we look at sailors, we're like, how do they even do it? How do they leave their families behind? And how do every time they step into the sea, taking one more chance and one more chance and one more chance, and now bring it to our lives. We know what we must do. We know who we are. We know what our gifts are. We know. And yes, it's the sea. Yes, it's the sea. It's unpredictable. It's dangerous. It has taken millions and billions of souls, and it will continue to do so. It is not your friend, but it can be. Not because you know how to sail, but because there's nothing else that you can do but step into the sea. There is no other. You can't live on the land. You're born to be a sailor. And for many of us to step into this journey of self-awareness, we are sailors in that sea. We have no idea. We have no idea. We have some basics. We have, the do's and don'ts of the journey, what awareness looks like, what other people have done. We've done all our mantras. We have our gear in check. Our vehicle looks strong. We've taken care of our vehicle. We're doing right by ourselves and all of that. And yet it's still the sea that we're stepping into. It's the only element where you've gone to the farthest reaches of, you can see the farthest reaches of the space, but you can't see the farthest depths of the ocean. We haven't been able to see that yet. That's what the sea is. And it's the same sea. It's the same sea on Yom Qiyamah, which is Qiyam. Qaim ho, show up, stand up. When the sea is asked to do Qiyam, because Qiyam is not just, Yom Qiyamah is not just for us, right? When the sea is asked to do Qiyam and the mountains are asked to do Qiyam, they've been subjected to their place by the will of Allah. You stay here, mountain. You cannot move. You keep your waves low, the sea. You cannot let it rise. You can't pull. You can't do it. Don't do it right now. They've been subjected, controlled by the will of Allah. They will let go of that force. That's why the mountains will fly and the seas will turn upside down to reveal its contents. Reveal its contents, like upside down sea. Abhi bhi aap jo Dali ki pictures hain, jo photography hai sari, is what? It's an upside down sea, which are actually deserts. And the water floating in, it's all upside down sea is what? It's a desert with the water. So as sailors, when we step out into the sea, and what are these ships specifically being referred to in this ayah? Bearing good for the people. What does it say exactly? So when the ships that sail the sea for the benefit of humanity. Subhanallah. I don't even know why Allah Ta'ala is calling us ships. But this is for all light workers, guys. This is for all light workers and for all people who are aware and awake in this time, in this place, choosing to step into the sea anyway, in spite of the fears, in spite of the uncertainty, because there's nothing else they can do, because they can't stay on the land anymore, because they must sail, bearing a benefit to humanity. You sail because you're not purposeless. You're not sailing into the sea for the thrill of it, not a thrill seeker. You have gifts that you want to take to different people, to different souls. You have gifts in yourself that you want to bring to your own soul, which you can only do when we step into the sea. And so sail, sailor, Allah Ta'ala says. And so just in this small part, abhi lambi aaya hai, in the ships, how are we not finding, like, you want to look for Allah, look for him in the ship that leaves its shore, pulls up its anchor, and says, here I go. Here I go. And off it goes. And we don't know. We don't know. So yes, we can be with each other. High ship there, high ship there, high ship there. We don't know. There's no guarantee. We don't know. But we know that we must sail because it is of benefit to humanity. And then the fourth part is what? The rain sent down by Allah from the skies, reviving the earth after its death. Subhanallah. Because, one of the biggest questions that the kuffar are, Jahilin actually, kuffar, because kufr, again, I'm going to remind of some of the words which are used so abominably, completely out of context. So kufr means to turn your back away from the rahmat of Allah. इसमें कहीं नहीं कहा गया कि the rahmat of Allah ends. बस में कहा गया kufr, you've turned your back. Okay, so kufr being that, jahil is the one who is not using its akal. मतलब देखो तो सही to the universe. So one of the biggest questions that the jahilin or the kuffar would ask, or the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was, and the prophets before him, because how does Allah bring the dead back to life? You're saying there's going to be a day of judgment. How does it bring back to life? Say, do you not observe in the falling barren earth, which yields nothing, can yield nothing? It's dry to its core, is brought back to life. Green begins to sprout. It springs back to life with the rain. Do you not see the signs of Allah? Is rain not an ayah of Allah? Is the springing of the earth back to life not an ayah of Allah? You don't need to believe my ayahs. That's what the prophets would say. Don't believe it. Look at the rain and look at the way that, now apply it to the spiritual state. Because in the same way that Allah Ta'ala is referring to the barren earth is how he's referring to a heart which has no love in it and no kindness in it. It's like those hearts have turned to stone. Nothing can reach them. They've turned to stone. But then he says, no, not even, and it's also in Surah Baqarah, he said, no, not even like stone. Because some stones will gush water once they break. And some stones will move when the water gushes through them. They will still not remain stationary. So I will not even compare the hard hearts to those stones, because the stones gush water and the stones, they're different kind of hardness that these hearts are. But when that heart begins, and it's a dead heart, it's a barren heart, it's an infertile heart, जैसे हम लोग कल्ब कहते हैं. But when there is a desire or a shift, or when something begins to shift within that qalb, that heart begins to come back to life. And so Allah Ta'ala says, I am the one who gives hidayah. Is wo soye ve qalb ko jagate. It is like the rain, the ayah of Allah is like the rain that falls on the hardened hearts, and the hearts begin to come back to life. And so Allah Ta'ala says, find me in the way that the rain falls, and I bring the dead back to life. And the fifth part is